All right, cyber traders, welcome on back here this Tuesday afternoon, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. Welcome on back for our afternoon meeting. Great to see Norman and Mark. We have Chuck and Michael joining us here as well. Kathleen, I saw just a moment ago. Brian, Ari, great to see everyone joining us right now. Ron, Lori, Gary, live inside Cyber Group. I scared Ron. I meant to scare you, Ron. No, I'm not. I'm kidding when I say that. Hopefully, I didn't scare anyone else, but hey, you got to be awake to trade the markets, folks. So if you're not awake yet, you better get ready because it looks like we have a pretty decent market to work with heading into this afternoon. That doesn't necessarily mean like an uptrending market, just so you know. Just seems like a pretty active market altogether. So let's hop right into the thick of things here. Unfortunately, this new trade beginning to pull back quite a bit, just made a lower high, I guess, and now beginning to make that pullback. I was interested in this trade going into this meeting. I was hopeful to see this, be steady, run up pretty nicely. So this drop off the lower high is making me a bit discouraged, to be transparent. It's also on a bit of a spread. The orders out there are more like to worry about. It's just pretty thin liquidity out there on the bid outside of the order at 243. There really isn't a whole lot that you could see out there on the bid. So if that gets filled, this might end up dropping off a lot more than you could imagine. So I don't know. I'll come back to this stock if I need to. I know that Fausto is preparing himself for the phase 3 stock course. So he's getting ready for that class coming up this afternoon for all of our gold, platinum, and diamond CTU students. You folks know that'll be taking place at 3:05 Eastern time. I know that Rich will post the link for that coming up pretty shortly. There we go, Rich. I appreciate that. So without further ado, let's go right from top to bottom. Otherwise, again, I'm going to keep this on our side list here, this NEW stock for right now, at least, at the end of this meeting, if it ends up making a new pop, I'd be glad to put this on our watch list. But let's see what else we got here so far. And for any of the other movers that we ended up catching from this morning, we'll do a brief, quick little recap here. So, to begin, EBON was actually one of the better moves from today, from this morning at least. It wasn't one that really had much pre-market activity. It wasn't one that we were thinking about going into the open today. And that's all right. I mean, hey, for all the stocks that we had on our watch list, we talked about exactly what we were watching going into the open, at least on AMC. Right, between AMC, the plug trade, TKLF from yesterday too. Fausto felt more compelled to follow those. But hey, when the market opened up, EBON started pushing, jumped up on our radar, on our top percent gainers list. So from that point, let me just show you this briefly. I know that Fausto is going to be showing this later today, not even in the phase 3 class, but this is something I know that he has in his webinar later today, his free introductory to day trading webinar after 4 o'clock today. But quick little heads up, Fausto was showing this here in class, just showing the iceberg orders that were on the bid for the EBON at 104, 105, 106, little 107. So that helped propel this trade. It made a really nice run up for, a dollar stock. Well, once those orders got pulled from the book, that's not your, immediate tell to get out of the trade. It's possible those orders could move up higher, but that's where I'll come in to say, if this stock is not going to make that next move up, if it's not going to, then don't hold your breath waiting for that move to happen. Because for as much as this pumped up, ended up just dumping back down here, back down to 111, 110, and just flattened out for the last 2.5 hours. So this EBON stock for right now, it's off the table here. Just too flat for my liking. If it was closer to the highs, I'd be more interested in it. BFRI, at least after 1 o'clock, tried making another run back up, ended up making what appears to be a false breakout, broke above resistance, what seems to be from the chart here, roughly off of 430-ish, 435. And as quickly as it came back down under that blue line I just put up, it ended up just trotting back down here. So I'm not too particular about that. BFRI was a stock back from November or late November, early December that we ended up trading. So we're familiar with this stock. We've done well on this stock in the past. We did well on it today, at least, but not a whole lot to write home about right now. For the meantime, a bunch of cheapies here below $1 here on the gainers list. RETO above $1, but just flat. So I feel like that's going to be our theme here heading into this afternoon, folks. Not a whole lot that looks too tempting. Speaking of AMC, at least, speaking of the stock that we had on our morning list, AMC, we'll get to that coming up, folks. We'll get to that. We'll likely put that stock on our watch list for the afternoon as a short. But otherwise, VTNR still holding strong here. Actually made a nice little bounce back up from 445 up towards the HOD right now. It's only trading about 4 or 5 thousand shares per minute, the average volume traded per minute. So that's really not that impressive. I'll come back to this at the end, like the new stock. I'll write this down on our side list here. I don't think I've really committed to any one stock thus far to put on our main list. Let's see what else is out here in the meantime, though. Just see if there's any other familiar names that look good that popped up recently. RIG, RIG. hmm Looks all right. I mean, this almost looks like there's too much liquidity out on the order book for this trade. Just look at what's out there on the offer on the matrix in red on the right side of my screen. You have an iceberg at 355, right, for about 166,000 shares. Well, if it breaks that, it still has to concern itself with all these other larger price levels, just some thick liquidity out there in the offer. But with the way this stock is looking here for the afternoon, I'll put this at least on our main list. Feel good about it right now. More of like a level one stock, pretty low risk, but trying to make that push for us right now. HLX, not a whole lot happening there. All right. And I'll tell you, there could be more that's up today, folks. Number 50 is up 10%. So if there's anything else that's making a respectable move up or perhaps coming up on the way down here, then just type it in the chat board early. We'll need to work together as a team at least first. So let's keep going down the losers list here to begin. The DLHC stock shortable down big. I should have looked at the volume, which I didn't. It's only trading 233,000 shares, so that's out the window. AVXL, how about this? Where's Leda inside Cyber Group here? She'll probably get a kick out of AVXL down near 17%. Long story short, this was actually one of the first stocks I got my ass kicked on back in like 2015. And ever since, whenever it made a big pop or move in pre-market, it rarely had ever made a big move. That's up until last year when it made this nice run up over time. So that caught our interest for a bit, but afterwards it dropped back down. We took our eyes off it. This thing is garbage. It actually is shortable. It actually is pulling back, and there is some good liquidity on the book. So as much as I don't like this stock for personal reasons, I may be more compelled to put this on our watch list as a short, pulling back down from 11 here. Ron says AMC at the low of the day. Well, you know what? Let me jump ahead to that because AMC is not down that 5+%, 10+%. Hell, AMC's up 3.5% still. But AMC, like Ron correctly stated, is at the low of the day. It's the only stock I'm currently in right now. I am short from 17, Ron. And I was actually long earlier going into the mid-afternoon. I ended up wasting a decent chunk of profit, but ended up beginning to pull back. And I figured, all right, well, this could be our opportunity here. Now, it's interesting because the markets are still holding strong, or really for the afternoon, they really were. AMC, we covered this trade from head to toe inside our live workshop, Traders Talk, earlier today. That recording should be on the student portal later on this afternoon, probably by the time the market closes. So for Ron, Grant, Michael, Lori, if you did not take part in Traders Talk earlier, the recording you'll be able to watch later on today. But most of these lines, the only line I didn't have up from pre-market was this purple one. But nonetheless, it ended up moving up really well today. Point being, from where we left off in Traders Talk, folks, if you were with us in Traders Talk, this couldn't have been a better price level to anticipate as resistance. We had so much volume filled in pre-market exactly off this like obscure price, 1864, 1863. If that's not the exact price there, it held it near flawlessly. It moved all the way back up there, held it perfectly, and then from that very point ended up beginning to pull back. Actually, the short opportunity best could have been found right from 18 once it ended up holding 18, the opening bell print, as a major resistance. So I was following this throughout pretty much the entire day. And as of right now, I'm still short half my position from 17. I covered half at 1675 just at first before we started. So I still have half of my overall position remaining. And, I'm going to put this on our list, not just because I'm in it. Actually, contrary to that, I think it was yesterday I was in a trade and I didn't put that stock on the watch list because I simply didn't think that was going to be as good of an opportunity for everyone else at this point. Well, I'll tell you what, AMC is dropping off really well. So, it's not just because I'm in it right now. It just seems to be a very active trade. And if the market markets drop off, then I would only anticipate for this to continue pulling back. So AMC, I'm going to put back on our watch list here, and in this case, more as a short opportunity, clearly. All right, so I do have my stop set, though. Otherwise, as you could see, I wasn't going to be a jerk and go through this whole meeting and not have my stop set. So, if this does run back up, then I'll react from that point. But doing pretty good on AMC here today. So we'll see where this goes going into the close. All right, that was a mouthful. Let's keep going, though. Otherwise, PBI number 6 on the losers list. Going back to the losers list for right now. Just too flat here for my liking. Let's expand this price column here. HLIT, much closer to the lows than PBI, at least. It's just too flat, though. I mean, it seems really flat right now. So, again, I'm not too particular about this one just yet. There's actually a bunch of stocks that are easy to borrow from TradeStation on the loser side here. So that's catching my eye. I'm just trying to sift through them all and see if there's any ones that we're familiar with or stand out. To be honest, I haven't really traded any one of these stocks that are easy to borrow. That's just about it. Otherwise, CRUS, I should have looked at the price beforehand, $82. So not too keen about that one. All right, folks, that's all you got from me here. Last call, though, for everybody else. If there are any other stocks that are making a move or any other stocks that you would want me to check out personally here before we finish up, just type it in the chat board. Just give me a quick shout here, folks. NETI is one I'm seeing right now from Benzinga Radar, but this thing's trading next to no volume. So, it's at the highs, but that's not too good right now. U1 UONE we're pretty familiar with. It's up over 5%, trying to bounce right now. Just too spotty of a chart heading into the early afternoon. So although we're familiar with this trade, again, it's not one I'm really jonesing for right now. Well, U1 could be moving because of this BYFC. And BYFC is a stock that we ended up trading back. I think it was even in 19, if not 20. Let's see. Oh, no, it was back in 20 here. Yeah. So we ended up seeing a few of these stocks move similarly between BYFC, CARV, CARV, which is actually gaining a little steam right now, and then U1. U1 was actually the best of those movers back in 2020, and they all made the same move here going back into midway of last year. But out of all of these right now, BYFC is capturing my interest the most out of them. I'll put the BYFC on the main list. If the U1 trade gains more signs of life, I would love to more focus on that, but not fully committed to it just yet. All right, so we'll slip this one on for right now, the BYFC, and we'll see where that goes. Ari asking about the fund trade, FUN. Ooh, this one ended up making a big pop going into the mid-morning. I wasn't looking at this at the time. Pretty interesting. Let me just look at the news right now, just solely out of curiosity. That's not going to determine whether we put this on the list or not, but pretty interesting pop. So it looks like Fun had an unsolicited, non-binding offer from SeaWorld. I guess that's the report there. Buy the rumor, sell the news, Ari. So I don't think there's any official headline out there saying that the buyout was made official. So it ended up leading to a nice pop and reaction at first, but I don't know. You tell me, Ari, for a $55 stock, how many shares are you trading? Is it worth trading a $55 stock? More often than not, I think we know the answer to that question. Right now, this thing is just uber flat across the last 30 to 40 minutes. So we're going to pass on this. Interesting pop, at least, going into the late morning. DISCA Discovery from Chuck says had a $3 range on the day. You're not wrong. That is correct. $3 range just about from low to high. Yeah, that's pretty interesting, Chuck, just because the ATR on the daily chart's 192 across the last 14 trading days. So definitely a lot more compared to average. So it could be a good side list stock. This one's a little bit less expensive, better liquidity. It's dropping off. Good side list stock, I'd say. Joanna says KSCP possible rebounds after a huge drop. Not a bad thought because you're talking about range. So for as much as this $21 stock dropped down $9 today, when's it going to bounce? Good thought, but I would rather try and think about that on a stock that has a lot better liquidity than what you're seeing here. The way this is moving, we haven't had any sort of bounce over the last hour, hour and a half. So it's a good thought, but for right now, I'm going to pass on it for right now. From BJ OPHC, what do you think about it? Well, just popped up right now, so I appreciate this shout out here. This one slipped past me, so great call. I mean, popped right at 2:30 Eastern time, so I definitely appreciate the afternoon volatility on this move. The volume is totally dying off here, so that's a bit of a scare. So whatever news came out, hey, it's piquing my interest. We'll put this on our watch list definitely for the meantime. OPHC. I would anticipate for there to be support right off of 455. And if it's not at 455, mind you, it would be right off of 470, as that was the opening halt print. So draw two lines here and see where it goes. Those are two big levels for you to enter off of. Don't try and chase it otherwise. Brian says the other fun stock, PHUN, not FUN, ended up just popping with DWAC. Let's see DWAC first. Ooh, this looks tempting. This looks good, Brian. Wow, nice move up on this DWAC. Now, it's pretty interesting that Fun isn't making like the same type of pop with it. It's, trying to move with it. But I'm definitely a lot more keen to follow DWAC. Again, it's pretty expensive, mind you. So for, comparing apples to oranges in terms of, what would you rather trade, this Fun trade hasn't had any life to it over the last 30 to 40 minutes, whereas the DWAC is just making a much sharper move up right now. So, hey, if you do trade the more expensive stocks, then I'd rather you focus on DWAC for right now. With that though in mind, Fun. I appreciate the call here for Fun, and we don't have too big of a list, so it wouldn't really hurt us to slip this on our watch list alongside the DWAC trade. I wish it was making a stronger pop with DWAC, Brian, so I want to let you know that. If it was making a better pop at the time, I'd be even more interested. You have Dan on YouTube saying SMPX. Sorry if you went over it already. SNPX. I'll tell you what, this is probably moving up right as we were going from top to bottom. So, yeah, this one's a nice stock to follow now at this point. It seems like the spreads aren't too bad. Actually, it's starting to fluctuate a little bit here, but the stock itself is running up pretty nicely. So, great call, Dan. I like this one. SNPX we'll put on our list here too. And I'll tell you what, I think that just about wraps things up, folks. So, all in all, we got 2, 4, 6, 7 stocks to work with. Not too big, not too little. The shoe just fits, I like to say. So let's take a look on new. Unfortunately, ended up breaking lower. That was my concern with this trade, folks. So this one's out the window right now. And then the VTNR, it's trying to hang in there. I mean, would it shock me to see this make a pop around 315, 330? No, it wouldn't. Really, not at all. It just seems so lifeless, though, since that last run up here when we started the meeting. So I'm not too particular about it yet, but if it pops, we'll likely call it out from that point. All right, folks. For all of us on Facebook Live, for all of us on YouTube, I appreciate you sticking with me each and every day, each and every afternoon. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, suggestions, any feedback regarding these meetings you would like to share with us, send it right over to my email address. I always like to post my email here at the end of these meetings here in the afternoon, josh@ctutrading.com. For all of our students like Brian and Bob and BJ and Ron and Kathleen, Ari, Michael, I'm going to be back on the mic right at 3:30 in the afternoon, folks. Going to jump onto a coaching session with one of our students. Probably trade AMC. That's probably going to be my plan, at least. So we'll see where that takes myself and Ray, who will be joining me. But for all of us live, I look forward to talking to you folks later on today, right at 3:30. Take care.